Auburn is starting to cook. Now, we didn't talk a lot about Auburn recruiting when they were ranked 75th in the country, but that is changing. We got Auburn insider Jeffrey Lee of Auburn Sports on the show. He's going to take us behind the Tigers' late summer surge in recruiting. But first, guys, do me a favor, Auburn fans. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. We love talking Auburn recruiting, and we're going to do it all season long. So jump on board and hit subscribe. All right. Let's bring in Jeffrey Lee of Auburn Sports. Now, we're going to talk five-star Braylon Womack and his upcoming decision in a minute. But last Friday, the Tigers landed the number 2 ranked wide receiver in America, Jace Matthews. And we know LSU was heavily involved here. But how did Auburn pull it out?
Relationships, Josh. It all started with relationships from Hugh Freeze to Derek Nix to Marcus Davis to even Deuce Knight. Just the familiarity with those guys. Kenyatta Watson is another guy. Auburn put the full court press on this guy. And we knew back in the spring, even when Sadarian Morgan and Tristan Keys and those guys were still out there, that Auburn really loved this Jace Matthews kid. And they just went all in on him and were able to get him. I thought it was a big get for Auburn. They don't want a lot of wide receivers in this class, or they're not looking to sign a lot of high school wide receivers in this class. So getting one of their top, if not their top target in this class is absolutely huge.
You think he's one of these wide receivers that can come in and make an early impact on the Plains?
With the guys they have, so the 2024 class, Cam Coleman and those guys will be juniors next year. So he might be a year behind. But yes, he'll be a guy that they'll depend on early in his career. He can do it. I mean, he can play the slot. He can go outside. He can high ball. He's very good. He can do a lot of different things. I think he'll be a contributor at Auburn sooner rather than later.
All right, let's continue with the Mississippi connection, because there's big news on this channel yesterday. Steve Wiltfong on his show, the Wiltfong Whip Around, said that Ohio State is no longer the favorite for five-star Braylon Womack, Rivals' number 1 ranked safety in America. And it sounds like, I don't, Steve hasn't put in any predictions yet, but it sounds like Auburn's the favorite now. Jeff, what's been going on behind the scenes with Braylon Womack?
I think Auburn's been the favorite for a few weeks now. I've had Auburn with a slight lead since probably his official visit. Again, high priority for Auburn, a lot of familiarity there. Sister goes to Auburn. Parents love it at Auburn. They're very familiar with Auburn. They visited Auburn. Braylon Womack has been on Auburn's campus more times than I have in the past 6 months, because he comes over. He supports his sister. His parents and him come to Auburn for just about every home softball game. So there's a lot, there's that big connection there. The parents really love it at Auburn. And then you take into account DJ Durkin, Hugh Freeze, TJ Rushing. All these cats are all over Braylon Womack, made him the top priority at safety. I'd say along there with Jira Edwards, who's committed to Alabama. They'll still be on him. But I've had Auburn as a slight lead for him, and I actually bumped it up to 60%, because at this point, talking to some Ohio State guys, their NIL offer is basically at this point more of a take it or leave it. And I don't think Auburn's there yet. I think Auburn's willing to satisfy any NIL. I mean, to a certain extent here, but Auburn's willing to go in on some of these top recruits at these positions. We talked about Jace Matthews. There was never going to be a shortage of NIL there with him, and I think the same is going to be with Braylon Womack as well.
So with the late summer surge that Auburn's been on the trail, does this kind of ease some of the fans' concerns over Auburn recruiting in the 2026 cycle?
Absolutely. If you look at what Auburn's done in the past 2 months, going back to Adam Balagoon Ali, Jacquez Wilkes, Wilson Zaire, Jace Matthews, all of these guys are, and I hate to use this term in recruiting, but we always do, can't miss. Auburn had to have Wilson Zaire. They had to have Balagoon Ali. They had to absolutely have Jacquez Wilkes from right up the road. And then with Jace Matthews, just getting him was basically a must-have, because all the other receivers that they had in their tier 1 had committed elsewhere. Now you're looking at Braylon Womack, and you're so close. He's almost that must-have guy. And I'm with Wiltfong here. I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close on making a prediction on Womack. There's a couple of more boxes I'm looking to check behind the scenes, but I've got him at 60% right now on my hot board and climbing.
All right, so if Auburn is able to take this momentum into the season, win a couple games, they're going to be recruiting. Is there anybody out there in the 2026 cycle that you think fans should keep an eye on as we head into the fall? Inside Scoop fans, listen up. We got to talk Roback, and there's only one way to describe Roback. It's best fit, best feel. For those that aren't familiar with Roback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Now, Roback has released my favorite. It's their new licensed game day collection. Now, with novel polo designs and clean hoodie and a quarter zip design for some of your favorite schools, it is definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Roback's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They're super comfortable. I have them. They have an elastic waistband, great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice looking short, but also the comfortable feel for a day on the move. Roback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars past and present, and they're becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across this country. Now, here's what we're going to do. Use the code JOSH on Roback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers through the end of this week. Now, it's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with promo code JOSH.
Absolutely. If Auburn goes out and wins 9, I expect eight for me is the floor, Josh. Eight from anything less than 8-4 regular season, and it's a disappointment. If Auburn comes out of the regular season 7-5, it's a disappointment for me. Auburn goes and wins 8 games, maybe even gets to that 9 win. Who knows? Auburn's, you know how Auburn is. They'll have this magical run every once in a while. Who's to say they don't go out and win 10? But if they win 8, 9, 10 games, there's going to be a lot of it's going to get a lot more interesting down the stretch for Auburn. But they've got guys that they're keeping very close watch on. Caleb Morris is committed to Mississippi State. I think they can flip him. He's a defensive lineman. Another defensive lineman, 2 defensive linemen they're keeping eyes on and keeping a lot of communication with. Corey Wells, who's committed to Texas. He's from Mississippi. Ernest Rankins, who's from Georgia. He's committed to FSU. Going to be keeping a close eye on him. Jaira Edwards is committed to Alabama. He's from St. Francis Academy. Emmanuel Iheanacho, the 5-star tackle who's committed to Oregon. I expect all of these guys to be at games this fall. And if Auburn can get some momentum in the season, Darrell Bell's another guy, Florida State commitment. If they can get some wins, if they can create some momentum in season, beat some guys beat some teams that they're not supposed to, and beat the ones that they are. I think Auburn's class this year, even though it might not be 25 plus, it might be 20-ish. I think it could be special. I really do.
All right, Auburn fans, talk to Jeffrey Lee and I. Who do you want this fall? Who's your top target? Put it in the comment section below.